Hello, thanks for coming. You can't leave. You can't leave my session. You're still leaving. That's okay, I forgive you. No, I'm not taking it personally. I'm just joking. Of course. Hello. Yes, excuse me. Hello, how are you? I'm Julian. Nice to meet you too. Where are you from? Okay, excellent. Hi, you're so lucky you're having lunch with Michael. I am. Yes. Excuse me. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Amazing. Wow. But for us all. you know, it's more fluff than details, but I'd be happy to chat with you maybe after some, maybe in a few days or something. You have a card? Yes, of course. Brought a bunch of cards with me. There we go. It is. It is. So you can. It's a Canadian number, so hopefully you don't have any overage fees. Should be good. Hmm. But it sounds like you're doing very well in a short amount of time too, and as a brokerage. So you run the brokerage. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Right. Right. Over some of the stuff that I've learned along the way, and some of the things to keep in mind. I think it's not about starting a broker, it's more about growing a team, but starting out maybe with if it's good idea to do it in the first place, and I know you're people like Club Wealth are always like coaches start a team, but I don't think it's the right thing necessarily for everybody. It changes a lot what your day to day becomes, as you know, right? So, and it's not necessarily what I think people don't necessarily know what they're getting into sometimes. So, hmm yeah, tier one coach. I'm hoping I'll jump it here. I'll be at about 70 transactions, I think, this year. So I'm missing a few. Uh, you're which tier? Sorry, are you in? You too. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So sorry about that. So how are you doing? Just looking forward to the end now at this point, or yeah, was it a long party night for you? Yeah. It's good. That's good. It's good. Yeah, I wasn't up too late. I'm here with my 3-year-old, so and my partner. So kind of went, put him in bed, came back out a little bit. It's fun. It's like my fiance texted me. She's like, "You need to come and change a diaper now." Yeah. Yes. And we're coming to. Oh, good. So glad to hear that. How many do you have? Three of them. Wow. How old are they? Okay. Are they twins? Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. That had to be challenging. Are they identical or no? Okay. 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 Yeah. Nice. Nice. And a 10-year-old. And I'm done. And I'm glad there's no twins. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of work. I am in Ottawa. Yes. So Eastern Canada. Yeah. Mm. It's similar. I think there's a couple of things that are done a little bit differently. Like we don't have a concept of escrow. Deposit is held usually by the listing brokerage. So you get a couple of little things like that, but yeah, for the main part, it's very much the same. We don't really have Zillow. We don't have Google LSA. We don't have ZBuyer. So there's a lot of lead sources that you guys seem to have that seem to be really good. That hopefully LSA is going to come. It exists for certain categories of jobs, like tree doctor or whatever that is. And as though you don't have realtors on. So every couple of weeks I check. I'm like the moment it's offered, I want to be on that bandwagon. Be one of the first. But yeah, exactly. Exactly. So do my business. So, mm. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Yeah, more leads. It's always a good thing. Mm, I am. Yes. Yeah. Tier 1 coach. Hopefully next year I'll make the jump to tier 3, coaching tier 2. But, I really enjoy coaching tier 1. It's fun. A lot of people getting started or struggling a bit. So, uh, which tier are you in? Okay. Okay. Yep. Got it. Very nice. Very nice. Well, thanks for coming. So enjoy lunch with Michael. Maybe if you rush, you can be the one sitting right next to him. Yes, I would agree. I would agree. You don't want to be committed to a $2,000 commitment. Uh, You want to keep it? It's what you do with your card. And I was like, woo, who wants them? Cards for everybody. Should leave one on every chair. That's what I should have done. I haven't been good at handing them out, but yeah. Hmm. Can I ask you for a favor? Can you take a picture for me? Pretend that I'm like talking and like have the light in my eyes. Maybe it's better. Oh, sure. Don't have the clicker anymore. I'll thank you so much. Yes, perfect. I just got the Luigi treatment. Can't have the clicker anymore. You're in my picture. I'm Julian. Nice to meet you, Gordon. Hello. You too. You too. Yes, 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 we did. How was the evening? Yeah, good. It was pretty good. Pretty good. Can't stay out too late. It was fun. Still managed to get 4 or 5 beers in before going to bed. So not sloppy, I swear. I mean, not more than usual. One more. So ready to go? Okay. We're going to get started. We're going to get started. So my name is Julian. I've been with Club Wealth for about a year and a half, a little bit over a year and a half now. And in this session, we're going to talk a little bit more about a little bit about my journey and a little bit about a lot of the mistakes that I've made and what's happened. But over the last year-ish, I've grown a team to 15, 16 people, and it's been fluctuating. And we'll talk about some of those up and downs and everything else. But basically, there's a couple of things that I realized in this journey. The first one is that if you don't have a team, you kind of have a job. And the reason that I became a realtor is that I didn't want to have a job. I wanted to have more freedom, more flexibility, and that's having a team is one way that I realized that we could have that flexibility and have a little bit of that life back. But the other thing that I realized is that as you start growing a team, there's a little bit of a challenge there. And that challenge is that when you have just a few agents, you start having more work, but maybe not some of the benefits that you're hoping that you're going to have, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that. So we'll talk about how I scale my business and how you can scale your business too, how I went around building my team, and then some tips, experiences, mistakes that I call lessons learned, and everything else that we went through. So about me, I'm fairly new to real estate. I've been in real estate for about 10 years, but the first 7 of those years, I was just a part-time agent doing about 4 to 5 transactions a year. So I'm not sure if that really counts. A lot of those transactions were my own transactions as an investor. On top of that, I was not trying, I was not marketing myself, I was not prospecting, right? I was not doing any of that stuff. It was just word of mouth, basically. The reason that I became a realtor in the first place was that because I was investing after having a couple of bad experiences working with realtors, I decided I'd never want to work with realtors ever again. So I'm going to become one. And that kind of backfired in a pretty big way. But anyways, so that's what got me started in this journey. And when I started as a realtor, as a part-time realtor, I started to work with some people, family and friends initially, and I realized, yeah, I really enjoy this, right? So I ended up, and at the start at December 2020, so January 2021 was really the start of my full-time journey as a realtor. Um, Prior to becoming a realtor, I was a consultant. I was working in IT. I was traveling a lot, mostly in the US. I'm Canadian, but I spent the last 15 years before becoming a realtor, mostly focusing on working everywhere in the US, very much. I have 2 kids, and we had our first hire on the team in March 2021. So it's still a pretty young team. And then we had 2 more after that, and then we saw turnover and all of that stuff. So that's part of the journey. It's a lot of fun. I didn't have it any differently, but I had somebody just quit today. I got the email, so we're down to 16 now. And then I ended up winning the 40 under 40, which was a big deal, big award in my city. So that was really cool. That's a little bit about me, and I guess we don't see the picture here, but this is a flashlight. And my point is that we need a flashlight. We need to know where we're going in order to be able to get there. Otherwise, what ends up happening is that, like in this picture, you end up banging yourself on a lot of stuff, just like I did this morning. When I woke up, I'm here with my 3-year-old and my partner. They were still sleeping this morning, so I was trying to get ready, right, with the lights off and everything to be here on time. And I banged my toes, broke down 5, 6 different things, tripped over a pair of shoes, and I'm lucky to be here this morning. So, uh, so the first thing I want to talk about is, the clarity, understanding where you're going, where you want to be. So like I said, when I started, I didn't have that idea of where I wanted to go. And I think that was part of the challenge, where when you join Club Wealth, right? I think a lot of your coaches, for those of you that are coaching or even in group coaching, a lot of the Club Wealth culture is build a team. A team is amazing. You want a team, but you have to kind of take a pause and ask yourself, is the right thing for me, right? Is this really what I want? Because one thing you'll realize is that if that's the path, how many of you actually have a team right now? Okay. How many of you are team leaders versus team leaders? How many of you are part of a team and not a team leader? Okay, perfect. And how many of you are just solo agents? Okay, excellent. And from those solo agents, how many of you actually want to potentially start a team? Okay, all of you, pretty much. Okay, that's awesome. I think this is the right session for that. Hopefully, I don't discourage you. I'll talk about the pros and cons to it. But I think you kind of need to understand, what it is that you want and how it's going to change things for you. And some of the ways that it's going to change things, what I didn't really realize, embarking on this journey of, yeah, I'm going to start my own team, is that, you go from being an agent, probably being a pretty successful agent, to now having to be a recruiter and a coach to your agents, and having to focus probably more on lead generation than you did before, because you have more people that you need to feed, right? And those people that you need, that you bring on your team, you need to onboard them, you need to do all of those things with them. You need to come up with better system for all of them, right? So it becomes you start having different responsibilities and things that maybe you don't have experience doing. And I think for me, that was a bit of a mindset shift, right? Where I was like, never recruited anybody. I don't know. I don't know if I'll be good at it. I don't know how to do it. So it's things that you need to start learning. And also when we're talking about our perfect daily schedules, right? You're blocking your time right now for prospecting and this and that. Now there's a lot more time blocks that you need to add to your schedule, right? You're going to be spending time recruiting, you're going to be spending time onboarding, you're going to spend time maybe running those events with other realtors, kind of lunch and learn, stuff like that, to try to attract people. So you're doing all of those things to try to attract people to your team and become known for to other agents and stuff like that. And it's taking away usually to some of the other activities that you used to be doing as a producer, right? So less time to work with your buyers, less time to follow up, less time to look for listings, less time to prospect in general, and then something has got to give at some point. So I think one question that you should ask yourself on every slide. I have a question like this to reflect on. It's what are your strengths and weaknesses, and what are you hoping that your team might look like in the next 5 years? And I think that thinking about those things also will impact your approach to team building, right? Is it a team of 10, of 20, of 2? And depending on what you're hoping to accomplish, well, there will be an impact. If you're looking for a really small team, hopefully everybody on this team will be very high producers. Then it's different than trying to build a larger team where you have that 10% that are super high producers, 10% that are the bottom that you want to do some top grading on, and the middle that are hopefully on the way to becoming better. Like Michael calls them, you'll end up with some turkeys on your team and some eagles, hopefully, and some turkeys that are on their way to become eagles. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyways, that's the goal. So the other thing that we want is really understanding what is your why, the reason why you're doing this in the first place. And again, that's something that I kind of jumped into building my own team without first thinking about, is this why am I doing it, basically? And I knew that what I'm really passionate about, and one of the reasons that I met a coach at Club Wealth, is that I do love that aspect of mentoring, coaching people, helping them be successful. That's what I love doing. So I knew that for me, building a team was the right approach, right? If that's not what you like doing, maybe you'll want to think carefully about if building a team is really what you want to do. Because it's not easy, and just like even as a solo producer, that understanding why we're in real estate, what it is that we want to accomplish, it's important. So I love this model, Ikigai. I don't know if you've seen that before, but really it's a Japanese concept where we want to find balance between what we love, what we're good at, what people need, and what we can get paid for, right? And if you think that a combination of all those things can be building a team and a real estate team, then hopefully that's the bullseye, the sweet, and that's Ikigai. Sometimes we start stuff like, if you're just thinking about starting a team now, you don't really know if you're going to be good at it. And it's a learning process, right? Just like when you first started in real estate, we didn't know what we were doing, right? We don't know how to sell stuff, and we're still learning. So I think having that mindset of always wanting to learn, always wanting to reach that next step is so critical. So the question here that I'm asking you is, why do you want to start and grow your team? And what is the cost of not doing it? Because I know a lot of you might be thinking right now, is this the right time, right? Am I ready to do this? And I don't have an answer for you, right? It's a really personal question, but I think that some people would say, yeah, right now is the time, right? Just like when you talk to your buyers, yeah, the best time to buy real estate is 5 years ago. Best time to start a team is last year. That's may be true, but you need to be ready for it, because like we said, it's going to shift yourself. And if you're a high producer today, you might have less time, and you might actually start seeing a diminishing production. So you need to make sure that when you start building your team, that they will produce quickly to make up for that loss. And it's not rare for somebody who's starting a team to see a little bit of drop in production overall, right? A little drop in production, and well, drop in income a little bit their first year or two doing it. So so it's always a little bit of a sacrifice maybe, or a little bit more work before you start seeing some benefits, right? If you are successful at building a team. So something that is super important, I think, when building a team is just you want to attract people to your team. And just like when we talk in real estate, you're selling homes, right? People buy from you, right? They probably don't care that much what is your brokerage and whatever, you are your own brand. And it's the same thing when you're trying to attract people to your team. People will join your team because they trust you with their career, they trust you to be able to provide them the best coaching, the best mentorship, giving them the best opportunity to help them be successful, right? That's why people ultimately join the team or trust a team leader. It's because they think that you will help them. Maybe there's other intangibles. Maybe it's a better culture, a better fit. They click better with you. They trust you. They like you. And all of that is important. But at the end of the day, an agent wants usually to achieve success, and they need to trust that you will be able to achieve that success. And for you to be a successful team leader, you need to believe in yourself that you can help them achieve that success. Because I don't think you'll be very persuasive to attract people to your team if you're like, yeah, join us, but I'm a new team leader. I don't know, I don't know if I can support you. I don't think that would be a very good pitch. So and I don't think that as a team leader, I don't think you want to be in the position where you're screwing up anybody's career, at least intentionally, right? So something to keep in mind. And I think it all starts with values. We talk about our unique value proposition, UVP, right? When we sell homes, when we work as a solo agent. Well, it's the same thing when we have a team. Thinking about what is that culture? What are the things that you're standing for? What are the values of your team? And when I started my team, we put things on a board saying this is our mission, these are our values, but they didn't click with people. People didn't really relate to them during their onboarding. Kind of went through them, and then they were kind of very corporate and just stuff that I copied and pasted from another website, right? And it didn't work. So we ended up landing on 4 Fs: fearless, friendly, fun, and freaking awesome. And that's something that our agents are kind of rallying behind now, and they know that that's the reason that they're joining us, right? Where that's what's going to help them achieve results. If we need to make a tough decision, if we need to, think about any situation, we kind of look back at those 5 Fs, and this is what is guiding us in everything that we do. It also becomes easier to figure out who might be a good fit for your team. And I know, we talked about that in some of the sessions that you may or may not have been in, but for me, when I started the team, if somebody had a pulse, I was happy to take them on, right? It's because when I started to recruit people, that was my biggest challenge, starting the team, right? The first people that I tried to attract, they were like, you're not asking me to join a team, you're asking me to join a, team of one right now. Why would I come to you? Why would I trust you as a team leader when you don't have any track record, no other team members? You're talking about the team, there's no team, right? So I think that attracting the first 1 or 2 or 3 people were the toughest. Those 1 and 2 and 3 people served the purpose. They were, once they joined, they helped me attract a lot more people. So they worked out in that way. But none of them sold a single home because not because I sucked as a team leader. Well, maybe initially, but I think it's because they were not a great fit, because I hadn't really thought about what was a great fit, number one, and number two, I was not careful about who I would bring on, right? So the cost of having those people, they were not negative. They were just not doing the work. We'll talk about accountability also, which is important. But anyway, so that was tricky. I think when you start, it was still probably the right move to bring them on, even if they were not the right fit, just to get that momentum going. And then they kind of self-selected. Yes. Yeah, so I think getting the leads I thought would be the most challenging thing to do, but getting them a certain volume of leads and ended up being a little bit easier than I thought. And in a way, a lot of our leads came from advertising on Facebook and Google pay-per-click. That's where we got the bulk of our lead volume. And then they would call them, and a lot of them were junk, but but they were not great at following up quickly with the leads, and that's why they ended up kind of self-selecting out of the team. Um, yeah, so I think you need to spend a little bit of time just thinking about what you want the culture, which is what are the things that you actually care about. Then you got to think about your talent strategy. I know when we started the team, I was thinking like a right fit, and there's a cultural fit, right? But there is also looking at the profile of an agent, and I kind of knew that I wanted to attract agents that had from 2 to 5 years of experience, that had been selling maybe 10 homes a year. Those are the people that I wanted to try to attract. People that maybe were in other teams and maybe wanted to achieve more, maybe solo agents that were, again, at that 5 to 10 deals a year that have potential and that want to achieve more as well. So that's the right fit. Now, when I started the team and I started to contact those people, like I said, with a little bit more experience and a little bit more of a track record, basically, what was I know? I'm good where I am. I'm happy. I'm good. That's the answer that I was getting, and plus the people saying, Julian, you don't have a track record. You're just starting at, why would I leave my brokerage that really well-known brokerage with maybe a really well-known team leader and whatever to join somebody with relatively low experience in real estate, and I run my own independent brokerage, so no brand name behind it as well. So anyways, I had to again shift a little bit my expectations initially, where the first 3-4 people that came in were people that were brand new agents. So I got way more success getting those people and convincing them that this was the right place for them. And that's one of the reasons that they were not producing. It's because they were also brand new, and there was a little bit of a learning curve, and it didn't work out for them, unfortunately. But they went to another brokerage, another team, and they also sucked there. So that's what tells me that it was not my fault. At least that's the way I see it. So yeah, I think one of the challenge for me was to learn to become also a good recruiter. Just like we have scripts when we try to sell homes, right, with buyers and sellers, having scripts to approaching agents, and I came up with a couple of scripts, and I'd be happy to share some of those with you. That's helpful. But anyways, just trying to figure out how to cold call an agent and trying to have a conversation with them. And what I realized is that it's really just like when, again, we work in real estate. At first, I try those calls saying, hey, are you happy where you are right now? Do you want to meet to see if we could be a good fit for you? My success with that was pretty limited. Where we started to see some success was doing some lunch and learns, inviting people for a coaching session to talk about their business and building those relationships. So rather than just having those short scripts to try to get people to convert them right away to come to my team, it ended up being kind of something that we did over time. Not too much time, but trying to provide value. I think that's the key word. Yes. So for example, the very first one that I did was a session on using Canva, right? So how to use Canva to, so it has nothing to do with joining a team. It has not, so just random topics where people are like, yeah, that's cool. I'll attend this session. And then at the end, at the end, it's like, yeah, if you got some value out of that, and you'd like to see or participate to some more of our training, please reach out. And then I would follow up with them. So just a way that we follow up with clients as well. So then you kind of nurture those agents that participate to those things. And I use my CRM, right? Just like I do for agents, I use a CRM just like I use my CRM for clients. And prospects, I use my CRM to track agents that I'm contacting and having conversations with as well. Yes. No, sorry. Yes. You had a question? Yes. So one of the challenge that I was getting when I was trying to recruit those brand new agents was that in a lot of cases, uh, they were not yet licensed, that they had already committed to joining a certain brokerage or a certain team. So after that happened a couple of times, I'm like, shoot, so this is not good, right? I want to do that too. And so we kind of, branded this program, which is essentially the onboarding program that we do for a new agent that maybe join at the end of their journey. But instead of starting when they're licensed, we're starting them a few months earlier while they are still doing their education component. For us in my market, for an agent to be licensed, it takes them from between 3 to 6 months of education. So we're trying to get them maybe at the middle of that, start to onboard them, telling them, instead of waiting until you're completely done with the program, only to then start the onboarding, and only to finish that onboarding to start looking for clients, and then finding that client, only to start showing them some homes, and then finally finding them a home, to finally closing on it and finally getting your commission page. Like that's a long time, right? So instead, we're going to shorten that time frame. We're going to train you and start not giving you the knowledge, but giving you the right skills. Start working on your skills. Start telling you what you can do now to start building your database of potential clients, people who will be ready to work with you the moment that you finish your licensing program, right? So that you're starting already with a little bit of a funnel, people that are not just at the top that you're nurturing, but people that are getting close to wanting to make a decision, right? And then the moment that you start with us, and there's no fee for that program, the only thing that we're asking is a commitment that you're going to be joining us at the end when you're licensed and ready to go, right? So we've had a lot of success with that, just getting people that are, they don't know yet which brokerage they're going to do. They're like, yeah, that sounds great. I want to fast track my success. I want to get faster results. I'm going to do that. Yes. Nobody's giving it to me, but I'm finding them. There's a couple of Facebook groups where those students kind of go into to help each other out and stuff like that. So that's one source. We have a third party company that helps with like exam prep and stuff like that, where they allow us to advertise on there. So that's something else that I do. Um, the college, we have only one college where agents need to go to do their licensing in my province and my state, right? And so I can creep people on LinkedIn searching for those keywords of that school, right? And then when I find that they go there, I can reach out. It's like, oh, you're a student. That's so exciting. You're in the process of becoming a realtor. Awesome, right? And then what I started to do is some of those sessions, like what is it like to be a realtor? Just answering questions. What do you want to know what it's actually like? And a lot of them, they haven't talked to realtors, right? They're just like, yeah, it sounds like, a lot of money, great, awesome, I want to do it. But a lot of them have so many questions and no clue. So they appreciate, somebody who can give them a candid picture of what it's like, and just chatting and doing a little bit of a Q&A. And then for exam prep, sometimes we do sessions as well, just kind of office hours. I'm going to help you pass your licensing exams. I can answer any questions you might have, and we do that once every other week. And that's another way to start building relationship with soon to be realtors. Yes. So I think, yeah, I think if you ask 10 different coaches, you would have probably 10 different answers. Um, I try to do it in about 2 hours a week for about 10 weeks. That's kind of our program. Um, sometimes people will do like shadowing and stuff like that. We do more like Zoom. Usually we do it virtually, and then sometimes we'll do like a full day, maybe on 2 different weekends. A lot of people, when they are in the process of getting licensed, a lot of them have jobs and they want to quit their job to become a realtor. And I feel like it's probably like a quarter of people are going all in, right? They are burning the ship, quitting their job, becoming a realtor. But probably the majority of people we run into, they want to see some success in real estate so that they can eventually stop working to start doing this full time, but they don't have the confidence that they can replace their income, so they're kind of being a little bit more cautious about it. So that's why it's tough to do like shadowing and stuff like that, and a little bit more of an intensive program. So that's why we usually do it in the evening and then a day on a weekend, and so that way it works for both, right? It works for people that are thinking about doing it full time. It works for people that are doing it part time. So yeah, yes, please. And that's a good point. Yes, fantastic. Right. Absolutely. We do that too. So a letter of intent is basically a letter that says, yeah, that commitment. Yes, we're taking all this training. This is awesome, but we're going to join you, right? And I don't, I don't do stuff like you have to join us for a year and stuff like that. I say you have to join us, and then you'll be so happy once you join us. You're going to want to stick around. That's how we do it right now. Yep. Okay, differentiators. So there's a lot of different teams out there, as you know, right? So just like when you're on a listing presentation and you're starting to talk to the seller, you want to make sure they understand how you're different than everybody else. Same thing with a team, and you're talking to a realtor. It's exactly the same concept. You need to understand what value you bring and how that value is different than what anybody else is bringing. And for me personally, for us as a small team, that value is really in that one-on-one coaching, on that approach of caring about them, of wanting to see them get the results that they want to get, and then really on the quality of the training. And we pitch club wealth as part of what they get out of it, of course. But it's that support and that culture as well, that family connection, and how everybody's connected and stuff like that. But a lot of people are going to say in general, we have the best training, we have the best support, we provide the most and the best quality leads, right? So when they keep hearing that from person A and person B and person C, and you don't quite have the track record yet demonstrating that your team members do get those results and do get those leads and stuff like that, I think the sell becomes much more about the connection that you can establish with a person. So building that relationship and showing them that empathy and that how much you care about them. That's really how we manage to attract at least our first several agents to the team. So I think you have to really ask yourself, how are you going to be different as a team, right? So you're not going to start a team for the sake of starting a team. And if you have a team right now, and you're struggling, or you want to add agents, understanding those differentiators, I think is really key for people to make that decision and being able to articulate that. And one thing that was useful for us was to understand the other teams, the other brokerages, what they offer, so that we could tailor something, or even talk intelligently about what people are getting today. So we recruited some agents from several other brokerages, right? Understanding why they are where they are, without even asking them. We kind of have a sense of their profile, right? Or of their, or a sense of the experience they might have gotten where they are at the moment. And that really helps to try to convince them to come over by telling them how we're different than the experience that they're getting today. And if they're brand new, It's to be able to tell them what they're going to be getting compared to what most people get or what they might get if they go, somewhere else. Okay. This was my biggest challenge, expectation setting. So we bring in team members. That's great. We're starting a team. That's awesome. We're giving them leads. That's awesome, right? And we think that they're going to start calling those leads and they'll start producing. No, that doesn't happen. And we've heard in some of the keynote sessions, inspect what you expect, right? And things like that. That's important. But I think being really clear around what you want them to do, right? And you're training them on some scripts, on some things that they can do with the leads that you give them. But I think beyond that, really trying to have very clear expectations and maybe incentives for them to meet those expectations, and having, kind of the carrot and a stick, having also consequences if they don't meet those expectations. For example, they don't show up to daily huddles, you're not going to get leads for the rest of the week, right? As an example. So understanding what those things are is what's going to keep people on your team from basically wasting your time and wasting your money, because neither of those things are a great feeling, especially when you get started. But I think sitting down and really thinking about what are those expectations, and I've had, great tidbits from a lot of different coaches saying, yeah, when a new team member joins, we have this checklist that they need to go through, right? They need to finish their onboarding. Okay, well, that's a bare minimum, right? But after they finish that onboarding, they need to get maybe 10 reviews on your Google My Business page and on your Facebook page, for example, right? So so that's something that we're starting to put together to build some of those character reviews and help with the algorithm and everything. Then you're going to make at least 200 calls from people in the pond before you start getting some leads, right? So at first I was just saying, okay, you're now qualified to get some leads without setting those expectations, and then it would take the leads for granted and it would waste them. And anyways, that's what you want to avoid. So think about some of those norms, those requirements, those expectations, and what are some of the consequences that you'll put in place if people don't meet your standards. And then, the systems and processes is something else that I was kind of struggling with when I got started, because I had my own systems and processes, but they were not very scalable for the rest of the team. So what I had to do was, I knew I needed to have better processes, better systems, right? I'm like, what's a system? Well, I think a lot of what I ended up spending a lot of time on when I started recruiting was recruiting. It's that was time consuming. But once people joined, onboarding them was super time consuming, and it felt like everybody that were joining, I had to spend so much time with them to try to get up to speed, but I was not really seeing a return on all that time invested into them, especially when some of them ended up leaving. So that was pretty tricky. But at the same time, I had the tendency of trying to figure out what those systems were, right? So I kind of hit pause at some point after we had our first couple of hires in March, April. I have to have those systems dialed in. But then I would spend so much time creating the systems that I was not doing the recruiting that I should be doing, right? So I think we have to tell ourselves that sometimes good enough is good enough, right? And you kind of go with the flow, right? So make the systems, the processes better over time. You don't need, it's great if you have some of them in place, but they don't need to be perfect. And like for onboarding, you'll probably want to have recorded videos and documents and stuff like that, and maybe at some point a VA that can do some of that. I use Trello for a lot of our onboarding, just like we use at Clubwell. So I kind of borrowed that approach, and that's what we use. And I signed up for a platform called Teachable, where a lot of our training is on now as well. But basically, now every time that I have an agent that has a question about something, I just record it in Loom, right? So, which is a free tool if you do little snippets, which is really what you should be doing. And I post that into Teachable under whatever category, and that kind of becomes a body of knowledge that builds over time. As you get more team members involved, then they can start doing their own recording and their own stuff like that as well, and they find that really cool as they start getting more experience too. So and that reduces the workload. The onus is not completely on you. So So I think, the processes that I put in place initially for a team of 2 and 3 and 4 were kind of different processes and tools that I needed when the team kind of went from, to 10 and 15 and 17. And now as we keep growing, I'm kind of aspiring to have a team of maybe 50 in a year from now. I know that a lot of my processes are not going to scale up to that, especially that coaching and support, right? So you kind of need to always revisit your processes, revisit your systems, tweak them, make them better, and make them relevant for where you are right now and in your growth journey. Okay, we talked a lot about mindset. I think to me that was the biggest thing initially is like, do I really want to commit to doing this? We talked about commitment, right? So that was tricky. I was kind of concerned initially. I know I ended up going kind of right into the, from full-time realtor to building a team, but it's something that I had been thinking about a while before doing, and you need to have that commitment because it's not going to be easy, and you need to realize that even if you're the best realtor out there, you're at the top of your market and you're doing so well as a solo agent, it doesn't mean that you'll be crushing it as a team leader initially, because maybe some people will want to join you because you have so much production, which is great. Maybe they'll want to join you because you're telling them, I have so many leads and so many, I don't have enough time to handle all of that. That's great incentive, but it takes more than that to help your team be successful. And sometimes it's that what did Ron call it, the humility cycle or whatever. We kind of, when you become a team leader, kind of go back to square one in terms of having to learn new stuff, new skills, figuring stuff out again. So it's really humbling in a way, and but also a really fun challenge to overcome. So a couple of tips here, lots of don'ts, right? So I found myself initially stretching myself too thin, kind of, trying to do everything that I was doing before as a realtor, plus everything I wanted to do as a realtor, plus just everything I wanted to do to grow my team and help them be successful and everything. So that was a big takeaway for me, just to try to start blocking out time, but start giving up on some stuff, delegating a little bit more. During interviews, I was trying to pitch people on why they should come over, and I started to have way more success when I started to let people talk instead. So that was a big learning for me in my learning how to become a recruiter. So initially, I was spending so much time with those 3 first agents that we hired who didn't sell anything and who ended up leaving, right? Sometimes it doesn't matter how much energy you pour into trying to make some people successful, they're going to leave. So instead of focusing on retention and keeping the people that you're recruiting, try to focus on bringing in more people. So at some point, you don't care that much about retention. And if people are successful in producing, they're not going to leave. So that was something else that I learned. You can't want it more than they do. That's, for me, that was tough to learn, because I want, I want everybody to be successful. I want them to be successful. And when they're not, I see it as a personal failure. I get mad at myself. I get mad at them. I get annoyed. But that's something that my coach told me. You can't want it more than they do. It's easier said than done. And I think partly it's my personality, but you can't plan everything before you get started. You kind of have to do things, figuring out as you go. You can't rely on a single candidate source. Kind of think about, just like you want to have different lead sources for your real estate pipeline. Same thing with candidates. Try to source them from different places. Don't get discouraged. It takes a little bit of time. But figuring out, what you want to do before you start growing your team is super important. So some of the things you should be doing is always look at what works and what doesn't work. Focus on what works, get rid of what doesn't work, right? It's always about tweaking stuff and improving it. Focus on recruiting and leadership. streamline training and support. That's what is going to suck a lot of your time away. So you'll want to try to automate as much of that as possible. Again, don't do it all upfront, but over time you'll want to do more of that. Treat recruiting as you would with lead generation, follow-ups, drips, providing value, keeping in touch, right? All of that is so important. Take time to get clarity around what you want, and finally, just do it if you think it's what you want to do. That's it. Questions? Thank you. I am. So the question was if I'm still in production. I still sell. I know there's conflicting point of views around you want your team leader to actively be selling, right? I think most of my production is not random leads that comes through our lead gen and stuff like that. It's mostly people that I know, my sphere, stuff like that, right? So I tell my agents that that it doesn't take away from what they do, but also I try to include them in whatever I'm doing so that they can shadow me on some appointments and stuff like that. So there's some value there, and open houses too. I think we're probably running out of time. I want to take a few more questions, but yeah, I let me figure out something. Yes. I think it depends if they're part-time or full-time. I think it depends if they're new or experienced, right? I think for new agents in my market, I like to see them at 10 transactions. Obviously, with a team of 15 and my production level for the year around 70, we're falling short of that goal. That's because some of them have had, a few of them have had still 0, still working towards it first. Some of them had 5. So it depends. Yes, sir. I beg your pardon? Yeah, a lot of the recruiting we do on Indeed. Some of it we do directly on the various Facebook groups. That third-party websites that people use for exam prep. That's one of them. Cold calling agents within. I just look at a roster of agents and in my board, and I call them. That's probably 4, and 5 might be. I know our board does a lot of like orientation with new agents, so I participate to those orientation sessions, not as a recruiting, but to build the relationships. Then I follow up with the agents 6 months in, saying, hey, how are things going right now? So that's probably number 5. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Yes, sir. What's your name? Sure. It's a little bit different based on when people started. So it is about 50-50 for when I provide leads to them, and then it's 70-30 generally if they bring their own leads. Say that again. Okay. Yeah. It's kind of higher in general. When I provide leads, require 60 distance 70. Do you think that more than that? Yeah, I think that could work. I think, I think that one, yeah, that sounds good. One of the challenge that most team leaders do often is that they try to attract people by being a little bit more generous on how much the agents get to keep, right? Then you build a team on that model until they're like, yeah, it's not really sustainable. And especially if you're generating leads and not taking enough out of those leads that they convert, if conversion is low and whatever, you end up, that was my challenge. I was not I was losing money from my lead gen initially, right? So as long as you're positive, then it's probably okay. But so yeah, some of my early agents have better split, and I need to like pull a Michael with the Eagle Squadron, right? At some point, saying this is a new program where you get all this like additional new value. I probably need to do that for some of the agents that are on like 80-20 splits, right? That just doesn't really make sense. Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm glad it was good. Thank you. That was fun.